First, let's talk about General Milley. This is a shitstorm. General Milley, I think, did some stuff he really shouldn't have been doing. And I'm not one of those to be like, and he should go, but I think General Milley needs to go. So I'll just tell you what I think on it. General Milley, it comes out now, we haven't seen the book, but the early accounts of Bob Woodward's latest book are that General Milley, in the final days of Donald Trump's presidency, 2 days after the January 6th attack and then thereafter, was doing a couple of things. He quote, single-handedly took secret action to limit Trump from potentially ordering a dangerous military strike or launching nuclear weapons, according to this book, which is called Peril. He worried that Trump could go rogue. He called a secret meeting in his Pentagon office on January 8th to review the process for military action. This is from a report from CNN, including launching nuclear weapons. Speaking to senior military officials in charge of the National Military Command Center, the Pentagon's war room, General Milley instructed them not to take orders from anyone unless he was personally involved. He was afraid based on, quote, Trump's erratic behavior. And in addition to all that, pulling aside the top military brass and saying, do nothing without going through me first. He also had 2 back-channel phone calls with his counterpart in China, alerting this guy that Milley, would let him know before anything happened. Like if Trump issued some sort of an order on him with respect to a military strike. What? That's not okay. I'm no military expert. That's not okay. And we're seeing a lot of people, top military guys, left and right, say, sorry, but no, that's taking civilian command over the commander in chief, who's been, duly elected president of the United States, and he still was as of that date. Your thoughts?
And this is another demonstration of how partisanship, and particularly, Trump hating partisanship, has demented the brains of so many people. I mean, this is so clear. If Bob Costa and Bob Woodward, who wrote this book together, and Woodward's had some accuracy problems in the past. Robert Costa has not. I have a lot more faith in him. And, General Milley did release a statement, and the White House, no one denied this at this point. So it seems as if it is true. But, when you saw Jen Psaki, and, can we finally treat her like we treated Sean Spicer? Mm-hmm. We know that the job of these people is to lie, right?
Totally.
But she does it with such eagerness and alacrity in this whole thing. She got the January 6th insurrection into the question from one of the Ducey boys. It sounds like a gang. The Ducey boys.
Peter Ducey, son of Steve Ducey.
Steve Ducey? Is it, which one? Yeah. Peter Ducey asked the question. And she's like, we were dealing with an insurrection at the time and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. This is literally not how this works. And if you ask people in the military chain of command, they will say very much the same thing. The most disturbing part about this, of course, the quote that you read, Megyn, which is when General Aldrich Ames decided to tip off the Chinese and say, hey, I'll tell you that. No, you don't get to do that. Who told you can do that? Somebody tell General Milley you can't do that. And the amazing thing about this is that the Biden administration is defending it because the president is a lunatic. I mean, fine, you can have that argument.
What was that word? What is that?
Probably on your side in some way. But there was no sense that there was going to be, like really, is anyone trying to quantify that there was actually a threat of a nuke attack on China?
No,
I mean, we discussed this the other day. All three of us discussed the other day. Donald Trump's foreign policy over 4 years in the aggressive nature of it was the continuation of the ISIS campaign, which was a good policy, and throwing 75 Tomahawk missiles into the desert in Syria, and it was not hyper aggressive when it came to foreign policy. Mm-hmm. So it's a very odd thing that he believes that he's going to launch a nuclear war and decides to do an end run around the chain of command at the last minute, which is not his remit. And keep in mind that General McChrystal spoke to, out of turn in front of, I think, Michael Hastings, the Rolling Stone reporter, and Barack Obama fired him, as he should have. Mm-hmm. And Barack Obama wrote in a kind of apologetic way in his memoir, like 3 or 4 pages about this. And his argument is entirely solid. He said, look, I don't want to do this, but you cannot go. There is a chain of command. He actually uses that phrase in the book. And if we think that's okay, and what he should have done, Milley, if he had a problem, was do what General Mattis did. walk away,
fire,
and then
fire yourself.
Fire yourself and say,
out.
this is the problem. Take it and speak out.
I mean,
okay, let me play
bit,
devil's advocate and get you guys to respond then. Okay, so the people who are defending this say like, well, Trump's a lunatic. Trump's insane. Trump, who knows what Trump was saying behind the scenes? No, at the time he wasn't talking about China so much as I was robbed, it was stolen, and fraud. But who knows what he was hearing? And isn't it good to have an adult in the room behind? If you thought really this insane lunatic president was about to launch a nuke on China for some reason, didn't he have an obligation to protect us?
You have tools at your disposal. You can resign. You could use other members of Congress and the Senate. You could appeal to many people who don't happen to be members of the CCP. That is an option at all times. I think it's also worth mentioning. Well, two things. One, General Aldrich Ames, Moynihan. That's pretty good. And I feel bad for anyone who missed that. That's good. You should rewind it and listen again. First, Google who Aldrich Ames is so you know. But then the second thing. You have to square this with other things that we were seeing said about the president and his conduct at the time. That the president was talking openly about if I'm leaving here, here's a memo. These are the things I want to do. Get out of Afghanistan, get out of Iraq and Syria, completely withdraw from Africa and Germany. Germany, yeah. I have a very difficult time understanding how anyone could think that it's likely he's going to release a bunch of nukes in that moment.
Also nuke China.
Again, there are options.
Yeah. Well, you need those people in Germany to nuke China, Kmele. You know nothing about the military.
Like the thing about contacting the Chinese and saying, I'm going to let you know just in case he's about to launch a nuke up your, you what. That's insane. I mean, I can see why people are throwing around the word treason because that actually could endanger the United States. I mean, just putting that on the table like it's a thing that Milley's been exposed to and feels so strongly about, he's got to reach out to his Chinese counterpart and, give him the flag on it. That could create danger for U.S. citizens that didn't exist prior to the phone call. And the fact that the Biden administration is giving this a big shoulder shrug, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Barack Obama's vice president was Joe Biden. So he's lived through this in a way before, but not as severe. It's upsetting. I understand loyalty. I get that he likes Milley, but this is about something much bigger than liking General Milley.
And the thing that, to Moynihan's point about how people's views on Trump warp their brain and their assessment of various things, and also there's a kind of a default Washington establishment feeling about U.S. foreign policy in the world that is probably more aggressive and institutional than Trump, but also largely the American people. These things play with one another. A thing that does not get as much outrage as a result of those phenomenon is that a bunch of military brass, including Milley, at various points during the Trump administration, openly lied to the president of the United States about troop levels and military adventures in Afghanistan. They openly and bragged later. John Kelly bragged about Trump coming to him saying, I want to get out of Afghanistan in 2017. And they basically filibustered him. They put him off. They kept trying to prevent the president of the United States from making his commander-in-chief decisions about withdrawing from America's wars abroad. This is not something that you should brag about. There's a great piece in Axios from, I believe, May of last year or May of this year, that talked in great length about how Milley and a bunch of other generals openly tried to prevent Trump from carrying out his preferred foreign policy, which is to get the hell out of Afghanistan. That's a big problem. You can't have the military lying to the president and not doing what the president wants. And that's such a different category of problem than, oh my God, he's going to nuke China, right? The foreign policy conception of Trump, which was almost always weird and wrong and reflecting of biases, was that, okay, he's just a lunatic, so he might do a lunatic thing. And also somehow a lunatic thing would be to withdraw from 20-year wars that have no real reason for continuing to exist. It scrambles the brain.